Ade Yehud Sitzadaon. Hello, all friends like family. From your friends at the Patricia Locke Foundation. Yochgitz Se'ezre. George Holly is my name. I am Digit An Athabaskan from Alaska and a board member of the Patricia Locke Foundation, a foundation named for the memory of a woman of courage, Patricia Locke, who built on the powers of knowledge, wisdom, spiritual perception, and used the influence of eloquent speech to make great strides for Indigenous children and youth, initiating many Indigenous studies programs and colleges across the state, advocating for the children. Het sleds Kasgachat Dran. Happy Elizabeth Peratrovich Day. So appropriate that a day to celebrate an Alaskan woman of courage occurs the same month of a focus on the heart of all that is. That's how I see it. Het sleds gedatthon, het sleds dedene. Listen well, speak with care. Kasgachat was a Tlingit woman who was a member of the Alaska Native Sisterhood. She sat in the Alaska Territorial Legislature in 1945, listening to the proceedings over a civil rights bill that challenged the common practice of segregating Indigenous peoples from or within public businesses. No Indians, no dogs allowed were the signs that read in many a place in Alaska at the time. Elizabeth Peratrovich listened with care to the legislators, and when it came time for public comment, she brought together her insights into her words, reflecting the words of the men back to them, along with stories of discrimination she herself and others endured. Her words were powerful and poignant, and she placed in perspective the needs of the day that could not be ignored. I would not have expected that I, who am barely out of savagery, would have to remind gentlemen with 5,000 years of recorded civilization behind them of our Bill of Rights. She acknowledged that laws don't make changes in a place, only hearts can do that, but that the laws can reflect a will to do what is right. She used the powers of knowledge, wisdom, spiritual perception, and eloquent speech to turn and influence the outcome of the decision that day, and the first civil rights legislation of its kind since the Civil War in all of the United States was passed that day in territorial Alaska, a full 20 years before efforts of its kind were forged in the continental US in the 1960s. It takes an empowered person to stand up with courage to effect change that they can perceive. At the Patricia Locke Foundation, we support the empowerment of children and youth and families through upholding traditional values through the use of arts and science that shine a light on the wisdoms of our people. The Patricia Locke Foundation is building curriculum for schools and is initiating projects in rural areas like the Tower Gardens that help build a confident heart. Here's to upholding the strivings of just one of the many Indigenous efforts by women to help create a more just and safe home place for the dignity of all. The, the Elizabeth Peratrovich Day happens and occurs here in Alaska on February 16th. Dogaden for your time, and please Be safe, be full of love. In the words of Elizabeth Peratrovich, Yi Goya Juan, be brave, have courage.